Hello and welcome again. I've got a few more books to add to our stack of books here. I've got one more too that I need to put on there. We're going to be needing this one before too long. Again, welcome. Welcome to the seventh conversation in our series, What's Love Got to Do with It? Remember, we started off 6 different sessions ago talking about definitions for love, what that might mean. We talked about big picture, universal images of love. We necked that down to human evolution, how that would have unfolded, how that would have led to love within Homo sapiens. We've followed that down through time to the personification of love in Jesus 2,000 years ago. For the last 2 conversations then, we've taken a look at what I referred to as 6 witnesses to love. We began with Augustine and Aquinas and Polemus, and went to Hildegard, and Julian, and finally with Therese. So, what about today? Let's take a look, and a little bit of a break away from where we've been going. Let's stop and take a look at how love is portrayed in this world, in our world, through the centuries, through the ages. According to St. Augustine, and we saw a couple of weeks ago, beauty grows in you to the extent that love grows. He writes, because charity itself, love itself, is the soul's beauty. Beauty and love are one and the same. Beauty and love. And then speaking of divine love, Augustine writes, late have I loved you, O beauty ever ancient and ever new, late have I loved you. And behold, you were within me, I out of myself, and there I searched for you. Beauty ever ancient, ever new. You may be familiar with the writer Andrew Greeley. Here's what he says about beauty. Religious and moral metanoia are likely to occur only under the impulse of a person's being stopped in his tracks and then drenched in luminosity by an encounter with beauty. Beauty serves goodness and truth, not by indoctrinating, not by educating, not by imparting orthodox propositions. The beautiful illumines. It does not teach. I love that. Oh, and St. Pope John Paul II, in his letter to artists, writes this, art is indispensable to the church. I speak to all who are passionately dedicated to the search for new epiphanies of beauty. The link between the good and the beautiful stirs fruitful reflection. In a certain sense, beauty is the visible form of the good. Just as the good is the metaphysical condition of beauty. We can go one step further. Let's go back to old John Keats in the 19th century. In writing his Ode on a Grecian Urn, he had encountered this ancient Grecian urn with all of the figures and whatnot on it, and it prompted him to stop and ask himself questions about the ancient and art. He writes, O Attic shape, Attic as in Attica, O Attic shape, fair attitude, with breed of marble men and maidens overwrought, with forest branches and the trodden weed, thou silent form, dost tease us out of thought as doth eternity, cold pastoral. When old age shall this generation waste, thou shalt remain. In midst of other woe than ours, a friend to man, to whom thou sayest, beauty is truth, truth, beauty. That is all ye know on earth, and all ye need to know. Beauty, truth, love, all one thing. So, if in fact beauty, truth, and love are all one thing, let's take a look at how beauty may be portrayed in the arts of our lives. Let's spend a little joyous time in this conversation considering love in beauty. In fact, I'm titling this Caritas in Artibus, Love in the Arts. Now, from the beginning, I've said this is a personal journey. So I shall share some of the images of beauty that I think have been particularly compelling for me. You do the same. Look around you. Look at the art of life around you and see what you think about that. I've broken this up into a couple of different sections. To begin with, I have a sermon given on Easter in the year 411 by St. Augustine, in which he talks about beauty and the beautiful. I'll read this as we take a look at some of the images of the universe around us, as seen through the eye of the Hubble telescope and the Cassini spacecraft. And then let's take a look at some of the beautiful pieces that surround us every day in our world. Question the beauty of the earth. Question the beauty of the sea. Question the beauty of the air, amply spread around everywhere. Question the beauty of the sky. Question the serried ranks of the stars. Question the sun, making the day glorious with its bright beams. Question the moon, tempering the darkness of the following night with its shining rays. Question the animals that move in the waters, that amble about on dry land, that fly in the air. Their souls hidden, their bodies evident. The visible bodies needing to be controlled, the invisible souls controlling them. Question all these things. They all answer you. Here we are. Look, we are beautiful. Here we are. Look, we are beautiful. Goodness. The beauty of created art as well surrounds us and has for millennia. How about the beauty of the caves that we had seen earlier? What of the beauty of ancient sculpture in all of its various wonderful forms? And what of the beauty of stained glass? The beauty of the icon. We're fortunate indeed to be surrounded by the icon every time we walk into the church. The beauty of the icon. And flowing from that, the beauty of architecture. Think of the magnificent pieces, both spiritual and divine, as well as the glory of human architectural ideas and notions. Just imagine that. Ah, yes. And the beauty of the Taj Mahal, a monument to love itself. How about visual images of all sorts? How about the mother and child beauties of Mary Cassatt? And I must tell you a short story. I had the very good fortune to be in Florence, Italy a few years ago, and went into the monastery of San Marco. If you've been there before, you come into the monastery, into the areas, you go up a flight of stairs, and you turn to the right, and you go up another short flight of stairs. At the top of that second flight of stairs, as you walk up, you encounter this image. I must tell you, I couldn't move. I encountered this image and I was frozen in place, completely ambushed by the beautiful. Finally, I was able to move around in the area that Fra Angelico had painted, all the way back to the cell of Savonarola, etc. And then I went to leave. But when I got to the top of the stairs and looked back, I couldn't move. I had to force myself to go down those stairs and then make the turn and go on down. And after I did that, I had to come back up and stop and go back again and look. Absolutely overwhelmed by the beautiful. And that's what beauty will do. It will overwhelm us. Oh my goodness. Well, there are some art forms. The world around us, first of all, in various artistic forms, ancient and more modern. How about writing? Oh my gosh. Where do I even begin with writing about beauty? I took this off the shelf there. A Farewell to Arms, Ernest Hemingway? Are you kidding me? Is this the same guy that was the, all the macho? Well, that's true. But in the very last pages of this book, he writes through the eyes of a gentleman who is losing the sweetheart and the love of his life. She's dying. And Hemingway writes, "It seems she had one hemorrhage after another. They couldn't stop it. I went into the room and stayed with Catherine until she died. She was unconscious all the time, and it did not take her very long to die. Outside the room in the hall, I spoke to the doctor. Is there anything I can do tonight? No, there is nothing to do, he said. Can I take you to your hotel? No, thank you, no. I'm going to stay here a while. I know there is nothing to say. I cannot tell you. No, I said. There is nothing to say. Good night, he said. I cannot take you to your hotel. No, thank you. It was the only thing to do, he said. The operation proved I do not want to talk about it, I said. I would like to take you to your hotel. No, thank you. He went down the hall. I went to the door of the room. You can't come in now, one of the nurses said. Yes, I can, I said. You can't come in yet. You get out, I said. The other one too. But after I had got them out and shut the door and turned off the light, it wasn't any good. It was like saying goodbye to a statue. After a while, I went out and left the hospital and walked back to the hotel in the rain. Destroyed by love. Well, how about some love letters? That might be an interesting thing to look at. Speaking of Hemingway, let me read this love letter that he wrote to Marlene Dietrich. They were dear friends. I can't say how every time I ever put my arms around you, I felt that I was home. Home. Love at home. How about this love letter? Since I left you, I have been constantly depressed. My happiness is to be near you. Incessantly I live over in my memory your caresses, your tears, your affectionate solitude and solicitude. The charms of the incomparable Josephine kindle continually a burning and glowing flame in my heart. When free from all solicitude, all harassing care, shall I be able to pass all my time with you, having only to love you and to think of the happiness of so saying and of proving it to you. This is Napoleon writing to his beloved Josephine. How about this? Though still in bed, my thoughts go out to you, my immortal beloved. Be calm, love me today, yesterday. What tearful longings for you, you, my life, my all. Farewell. Oh, continue to love me. Never misjudge the most faithful heart of your beloved. Ever thine, ever mine, ever ours. Ludwig von Beethoven. Finally this. This should be a very easy letter to write. Words should come easily. And in short, it should be simple for me to tell you how desperately happy I was to open the paper and see the announcement of our engagement. But somehow I cannot possibly say all in a letter I should like to say. I love you, precious, with all my heart, and to know that you love me means my life. How often I have thought about the immeasurable joy that will be ours someday. How lucky our children will be to have a mother like you. George H.W. Bush to Barbara. You may not have seen that coming. Well, so we've seen a little piece out of a novel. We've seen some love letters. How about poetry? Well, I mean, with poetry, where do you start? The natural home for thoughts and dreams of love are in poetry, and of so many varieties. How about the notion of being pursued by love? I fled him down the nights and down the days. I fled him down the arches of the years. I fled him down the labyrinthine ways of my own mind, and in the mist of tears I hid from him. And under running laughter, up vistaed hopes I sped and shot precipitated, adown titanic glooms of chasmed fears from those strong feet that followed after. That's from The Hound of Heaven by Francis Thompson, a clergyman of the 19th century, early 20th century. The Hound of Heaven. I fled him down the nights, pursued by love. Or how about overcome by love? How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. I love thee to the depth and breadth and height my soul can reach, when feeling out of sight for the ends of being and ideal grace. I love thee to the level of every day's most quiet need by sun and candlelight. I love thee freely, as men strive for right. I love thee purely as they turn from praise. I love thee with the passion put to use in my old griefs and with my childhood's faith. I love thee with a love I seem to lose with my lost saints. I love thee with the breath, smiles, tears of all my life. And if God choose, I shall but love thee better after death. Elizabeth Barrett Browning, a 19th century poet. How do I love thee? But how about enchanted love? William Shakespeare, sonnet number 18. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease have all too short a date. Sometimes too hot the eye of heaven shines, and too often is his gold complexion dimmed, and every fair from fair sometimes declines, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest. Nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou growest. So long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. William Shakespeare. Or how about sweetened by love? Omar Khayyam, back in the, again, back in the 11th and 12th century, a book of verses underneath the bough. a jug of wine, a loaf of bread, and thou, beside me, singing in the wilderness. Ah, wilderness were paradise enow. What a glorious piece. Or, embraced by love. When time has come and nearly gone, and eternity naps by the warm, worn front door, close gently your eyes and smile once more. Someone waits for you where the road winds on. Remember the one whose love was yours, the heart that beat, the eyes that wept, who held you softly as you quietly slept and kept you dry. How sadness pours. Though some would love you when all was well, and others applaud when your stars were bright, he cared for your shadow as well as your light. To all who would listen, your wonders he'd tell. So now, as you sit and drowsily rest, fly back to those days, to those rose-scented years. Remember the laughter and passion-filled tears, and hold sweet that soul for whom you were the best. We can't do this without something from Dylan Thomas. Lived a very short life, only 39 years old when he passed away, but he certainly lived a full life. This is titled In My Craft or Sullen Art. In my craft or sullen art, exercised in the still night, when only the moon rages and the lovers lie abed with all their griefs in their arms, I labor by singing light, not for ambition or bread, or the strut and trade of charms on the lively stages, but for the common wages of their most secret heart. Not for the proud man apart from the raging moon I write on these spindrift pages, nor for the towering dead with their nightingales and psalms, but for the lovers, their arms round the griefs of the ages, who pay no praise or wages, nor heed my craft or art. Let's go back to the 14th century. About Hafiz in the 14th century. At some point, your relationship with God will become like this. Next time you meet him in the forest or on a crowded city street, there won't be any more leaving. That is, God will climb into your pocket. You will simply just take yourself along. Or again, he writes, what is the root of all these words? One thing, love. But a love so deep and sweet, it needed to express itself with scents and sounds, colors that never before existed. How about Enraptured by Love? This is a piece by Mary Oliver called Summer Day. Who made the world? Who made the swan and the black bear? Who made the grasshopper? I mean, the one who has flung herself out of the grass, the one who is eating sugar out of my hand, who is moving her jaws back and forth instead of up and down, who is gazing around with her enormous and complicated eyes. Now she lifts her pale forearms and thoroughly washes her face. Now she snaps her wings open and floats away. I don't know exactly what a prayer is. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel down in the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is what I've been doing all day. Tell me, what else should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last and too soon? Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? You intended. And finally, we simply can't end without something from W.B. Yeats. This is a cradle song. I'll dedicate this to all the parents and grandparents out The angels are stooping above your bed, they weary of trooping with the whimpering dead. God's laughing in heaven to see you so good, the sailing seven are gay with his mood. I sigh that kiss you, for I must own that I shall miss you when you have grown. Yes, indeed. I shall miss you when you have grown. Poetry of love. And there is so much. So much. We could go on forever. Well, next time, we'll take a look at the performing arts of love in various ways. Theater, film, music, things like that. How about some notes and quotes? Well, notes. As I began, these are a few of favorite examples of mine, of beauty, and truth, and goodness, and love. How about yours? Find some of yours. Find some writings, or photos, or drawings, or paintings, or whatever, sculptures that touch your heart with goodness, and truth, and beauty, and love. Remember, send me a photo of the person or persons who first ambushed your heart. Send them to this email address, okay? Or we can simply return them one of the emails that I've sent out. Get those to me. They'll be very important in a few weeks. Thank you. Now, how about some quotes? Well, let's try, how about Tommy? Tommy is age 6. During my piano recital, I was on a stage and I was scared. I looked at all the people watching me and saw my daddy waving and smiling. He was the only one doing that. I wasn't scared anymore. Wow, love as courage. Cindy, age 8. My mommy loves me more than anybody. You don't see anyone else kissing me to sleep at night. Thank you, Cindy. And thank you. My prayer, as always for you, is that your name be safe in the mouths of those who love you, and vice versa. Blessings all.